The campus is looking beautiful today. I love it. Oh my god. It's so bright and sunny, and yeah, well, that's our library, and this is just the front part, but it's looking amazing. The sky is beautiful. I love it. Wow, good thing I came out. It's not really hot, even though the sun is quite bright. It's pretty windy. I like it. Nice. Hi, so I just finished teaching and I went to the library to return the laptop and the connector cable. So now I'm going to the Apple store to get my laptop fixed. I just love this weather today. It's amazing, and these greens look so beautiful today. I hope they start this fountain at some point. Now I'm going to go get a lift to go to, oh, there's a fly, to the mall. See ya. So I'm at the mall already. I'm close to Nordstrom. I just got myself a coffee from Nordstrom and now I'm just drinking it. I arrived a bit early, so I'm gonna drink my coffee for some time and then I'll go to the Apple store. Okay, so I'm actually attending an online Ganesh Chaturthi puja and I'm wearing a sari. I mean, my husband just told me that somebody's doing an online Ganesh Chaturthi puja, so I was like, okay, I'll just wear something Indian so that I look presentable. But it looks like nobody else is wearing that, so well, overdressed as usual. Okay, so here's the thing. So, Anupam's friend uh, was taking part in his family Ganapati puja worship online over Zoom, and he invited Anupam to attend it, and Anupam told me about it 2 or 3 days ago, but I forgot about the invitation, or I think I forgot that it was today or something. I had it at the back of my mind somewhere. So then I just started having breakfast when he called and said, oh, so this thing is starting in 15 minutes. So I was like, okay, then I was wearing my night clothes still while eating breakfast. I was like, okay, let me quickly change into a kurta or something. And then I looked in my closet and I couldn't find the two kurtas that I actually just have here. I have one at Anupam's place, but I have two here. And then I was like, oh my god, I can't find it. Let me quickly drape a sari because I have a bunch of them somewhere out in the outside cupboard. So I wore it, and this was the best I could manage right now. I mean, it was all over the place in my cupboard. I just found one that was somewhat in an okay state. So I just took it out and somehow quickly draped it. I'm not very good at draping. I couldn't even pin it up, but this is what I look like right now, and this is a very old sari right now. I mean, I bought it in 2014, I think. Yeah, 2014. Yeah, end of 2014. At an airport, at the Hyderabad airport. So this is a Kanjivaram sari. And I didn't buy it from some like famous Kanjivaram sari shop or something. I was just about to board a flight and then I just saw this draped on the mannequin and I was like, oh, this color is so beautiful, and I've always wanted a plain sari with no work in the body but a slim golden border, and this was it. I found it and I really liked it quite a lot, so I just bought it spontaneously. But and I didn't even check the quality of the sari or anything, and then when I got it home, it was so lightweight and the fabric is quite nice. Like, it doesn't slip off even though it's not pinned. It just remains quite proper. I mean, it's kind of draped a bit improperly, but if draped properly, it's really nice. So I got this, and see, now it's helping me in so many ways, like when I have to dress up quickly and still kind of in a more presentable way, because this is silk, so it looks good. I mean, if I just took out some kind of strange cotton sari, I wouldn't have been able to drape it so quickly and there would be creases. Like, I didn't even iron this. I just took it out of the lump and draped it on, and it's pretty good. Looks special. It doesn't look tattered and bad. So yeah, I'm quite happy with this purchase, and it's quite nice that I kind of had this sudden simple celebration with friends I don't even know, but I will get to know them at some point soon, hopefully. So that is all about the sari. I'm not a fashion expert or a fashion video, like whatever it's called, vlogger or something. But yeah, I sometimes enjoy wearing something different, and this was a good occasion, so I quite enjoyed it. Anyway, I had promised that I'm going to talk about linguistics today. So one thing that I'm going to discuss is that what is linguistics exactly? So linguistics is not, before you know what linguistics is, you need to understand what linguistics is not. So linguistics is not the ability to speak thousands of languages. You can be a monolingual speaker of just one language and you can still be a linguist. Basically, you just need to be able to speak or even not speak. The ability to speak a language or multiple languages is not necessary. Like when I started learning becoming a linguistic student, or when I go and tell people that I'm a PhD student of linguistics, they'll be like, oh, do you speak a lot of languages? So how many languages do you speak? Oh, do you speak English at all? Oh, maybe that is why your English is so good. And I'm like, linguistics has nothing to do with the language you speak, the number of languages you speak, and the ability to speak any European language. That is not linguistics. So, and linguistics is also not the ability to preach grammatical accuracy to people. So if you go around telling people that, oh, this is not correct, this is not the right way to say this word or this sentence, that doesn't make you a linguist. So linguistics is actually the scientific investigation, scientific study of language. Now what you should understand is that language is a very complex cognitive process. It's not something that happens out of the blue, and it's also something that has a course of acquisition. So when a child is born, they don't just start speaking immediately. It's a process. It takes a few years to get to a proper level of conversing in a fluent way. So it's a very it's a very complex cognitive process. So we try to understand how languages are developed in human brains, how we can use it. So it is a scientific study of language itself. So by language here, we don't mean English, French, German, Hindi, Bengali, no. Here we are talking about that complex cognitive process. So any kind of scientific study requires a scientific methodology. So a scientific methodology involves making an observation, making a hypothesis out of that observation, then testing the hypothesis with experimental setup, from where you get experimental empirical data, and then you draw a conclusion based on the results you get from the data. Then once you get the conclusion, it is up to you and on the result, basically it is on the result and then how you interpret it, to say whether the hypothesis that you made out of the observation is confirmed or negated. If it is negated, then you can make amendments to your hypothesis and then test that again with another experiment. So to give you an example, you might say, for example, children are learning languages all the time. So if we, for example, talk about the acquisition, that is the development of language in a human mind, in a child's mind. So if we talk about the acquisition of the English language, that's the easiest one. Many of us know how to speak English, or at least have heard English at some point of our time, or spoken quite fluently or minimally. So let's take this example. So I make a hypothesis that children learn nouns before verbs. Okay, that's my hypothesis. Now I have to collect real data from real children and then make a conclusion. Now, in order to collect real data from real children, like to test whether this hypothesis of mine is really correct or not, I have to check many children. Okay, not one or two children, because some children are very gifted. They learn things differently. They learn faster than others. They learn complex things easily. So I need to make sure that I have a huge subject pool, at least something that will give me a significant statistical result. Now, for that, once you get into complex methodologies, you can test the power, you can see the effect size and all of that, those statistical measures. But initially, you have to collect data from a good number of subjects. Now, your subjects are children. You have to define how old the children are going to be, because you're trying to understand the acquisition of language. So you have to like make some cutoffs. So you have to say that, okay, I'm going to test children of age 1 or 1.5 years old when they start cooing and babbling, and then I'm going to test until the age of 2. But the thing is, that may be a bit too early at 1 or 2 years old. So you might want to shift it a little bit. Okay, let's see the time from when children actually start producing words. So you make a demarcation of the age of children. Now, if you want to also be more precise, you can also choose the region from where children are going to be, like the geographical location. So this is a place where children are going to, this is the region from where I'm going to select my subject pool. That's more complex stuff. But then your first thing would be to collect real data. So you go around testing 50 children, for example, in your neighborhood, and see whether at a certain age, that age, all of them are using nouns first or verbs first. Which one did they learn first? Did the child start saying something like apple, or something like give or play or something like that? So then you can test whether they learned the nouns first or verb first. So like these were very crude examples, but you can select even what kind of nouns and verbs you're looking for. But overall, you have to go around checking whether children are learning the nouns first or verbs first. Now remember, your hypothesis was that they learn nouns first and verbs after that. So if based on your data you plot your results, or you just tabulate your results and see the results, say for example 50% of the children, not 50, say 90% of the children learned nouns first, then your hypothesis is confirmed. If 90% of children learn verbs first, then your hypothesis is negated. But that's not a bad thing. It's still a new information that you add to the literature. Even though your hypothesis is negated, you are adding new information to the literature of that field of linguistics. So it's not a bad it's not something bad to have a negated hypothesis. Hypotheses get negated all the time, and that is absolutely fine. What you can do is, if this happens, report it, then you amend your hypothesis and do a follow-up study. So this is a very general scientific procedure. This is done in every science field, in physics, chemistry, math, biology. Everything starts with an observation, hypothesis making, testing the hypothesis, and then making a conclusion based on the results you get from your real data. So that is linguistics. So this example of nouns and verbs that I gave you just now, this is the scientific study of linguistics. And I am a phonetics phonology student. That means I am more worried about the sounds of a language. So say for example, I want to say something like children learn p before d, this kind of sound, and then I go around testing in the same way whether they learned this sound first or that sound first. So this is a very crude example to make a kind of connection between the previous example that I gave you. But these kind of children's acquisition related studies are called language acquisition research. The kind of research that I do is purely sound based. So for example, I had in my department somebody coming in from Peru. He speaks a language called Quechua. So initially, we as a class sat with him and and asked him to produce certain words based on a list that we had, and that list has a lot of regular general life words such as water, air, sun, colors, different kinds of things, mother, father, very general universal words that are expected to be present in every language more or less all over the world. So we started with asking him to produce those words in his language, in Quechua. So we listened to them, we observed certain things, we recorded him as well so that we can come home and listen to those recordings, and we tried to match it with the spellings of the words that he had given us. So I had observed that at word final positions, one of the vowels gets changed. Now there's a very well known phonological phenomena in the world that has been reported. It says that at word final positions, that is at the end of a word, a lot of sound changes happen because human beings do different kinds of things towards the end of an utterance. So that study was looking to check whether this kind of change that I initially observed has is it true or not for the whole language? Is a vowel changing in the language, or is there or is this change happening only in certain conditions? So that was that study, and it was a very interesting study. I got to learn a lot about the language, learned a lot of different sounds about the language because I was checking those kind of sounds at the end of words. So it was very interesting. So that's how these kind of linguistic research is done. So so obviously if you speak just a language, or if you know how to speak 10 other languages, you still don't know how to do a scientific procedure with a language. So for example, I've also done studies of using a very complex machine called electromagnetic articulographer. That articulographer, it's a device that tests the movement of your articulators as in your tongue, lips, and different speech apparatus that we have inside our mouth. And each sound is produced with so much complexity that it's really hard to understand where the tongue is going for which kind of pronunciation. So that device helps us understand that. So I use that and tried to figure out the momentum of the tongue when we produce a certain kind of consonant in Bengali, which is my native language. So it was definitely very complex, and just because I speak Bengali does not make me capable of understanding that procedure that I tested with a very very technically advanced device. Similar things are done with ultrasound. So for example, I was also thinking of testing the way R's are produced in Bengali, because there are different kinds of R's. If any Bengali speaker is listening to my video, they'll know that we have many kinds of Ra's. So the question was, how are each one of them different, or are they actually different, or were they different historically and they are not anymore now? So my plan was to test real speakers, native speakers of Bengali, who would produce these sounds, and I would see how the tongue moves with the help of an ultrasound probe. Sorry about the noise from the car outside. So yeah, so since I am a Bengali speaker, it doesn't mean that I necessarily know how the tongue is moving. I have to do this very advanced scientific research to understand the course of the movement of the tongue inside the mouth. Now you would ask, why is this important? It is important because we are trying to find out the similarities and differences between languages of the world, to put it in very simple words. So several theories have been made about sound change and predictability of sound changes. And if you think about it, these kind of sounds are very complex, and people who have speech disabilities are not able to produce them. So you can always help them with language correction through biofeedback or something. but if we understand how these sounds are produced properly, we can help others. Okay, so that's about linguistics as a scientific field. Okay, so that's a very brief starting to this kind of information that a lot of people don't know about. Many people know, there are many linguists all over the world nowadays, and it's not a very uncommon field anymore as it was many years ago. I know a place where I come from, linguistics is not considered as a very lucrative field because the job market is not like that of an engineer or a doctor. But the truth is, these things are like helping hands to engineers and doctors. So until and unless you don't understand everything, or at least some parts of language, you won't understand how to treat them. So for example, we cannot open a person's brain and check what is happening inside. So these kind of things about how the brain is processing language and working with it, or how this highly complex cognitive process is taking place, we need to supply some kind of input, that sound stimulus or language stimulus as you may call it, and see the kind of response that comes out, and the time it takes to come out, and the kind of confusion it might create in a person. That those things, like you put an input and then you check the output, that's how you understand how our brain is computing these language stimuli, these language stimuli. So that is what is linguistics in very simple words. People would differ in many ways, but this is how I had understood in the beginning how linguistics is different from just speaking many languages or foreign languages, or the capacity to understand grammar properly. So the next day I'm going to talk about grammar and what we mean by grammar in linguistics, and not the regular school KG to 12 grammar explanation. This is a different kind of grammar. So we are going to talk about it next day. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you also enjoyed my sari. Thank you. Bye.